June to all the Bondens listening today. I'm wearing my Bondex hat. I'm Ignacio Palomera, the CEO and founder of Bondex, and I have the very lucky today to be joined by Jeremiah, the CMO of RLY Network. Today,
Hey,
sister company, layer 3 to Rally.io. But Jeremiah, no one's going to give an introduction better than you. So please tell us about yourself and how you got to where you are.
hey, everybody. I'm Jeremiah Owyang. I am in Silicon Valley. In case you're wondering, that is not a virtual background. This is where I work in the tiny Airstream studios in my backyard. And it's the future of work, 19 steps from my house. And if I needed to put it on a trailer, on a truck and go, that is the future of work, distributed, decentralized, on demand. So I'm very delighted to be here. A quick background. So I am the CMO of RLY Network and Association, which is a nonprofit, and we run the core software called RLY Protocol, Web3 software, which helps developers to launch their own token economies. And we also run the treasury. We have a number of apps that use our protocol, like rally.io for creator coins, Unite, Superlayer is our venture studio, which has dozens of apps, which we can talk about, and including some that are related to the future of work. And before this, I was a technology analyst. That means I cover the industry. I look at the industry, research trends, and I've started a number of firms on the research front. So I looked carefully at the gig collaborative sharing economy and how world completely changed when these new forms of work and the rise of the freelancer movement. So I was there at the beginning of that. And before that, I was at the front of Web 2, which we at that time we called it business blogging or social media or citizen media. So I've seen a lot of these trends that definitely interact and impact the future of work. So I can't wait to chat.
That's fantastic. We are going to get into the weeds of that. It's something we think about deeply, very much at Bondex. And I'd love to hear, can you tell us the difference a bit about RLY Network and Rally.io? Give us the differences and
Sure.
explain exactly what you guys do.
Okay. So there's definitely a lot of terms that use the same word rally. So I'll help to make it very clear. So Rally Network are all of the apps that use our token or a software protocol to create tokenized economies. For example, while you're not a user of Rally Protocol, you have your own token. So that's an example of Bondex having a token economy. And so Rally.io is our lead project and our first project where creators, influencers, athletes, musicians have their own individual creator coin, and they can use that in the future of work to offer goods, services, or experiences. So I'm with the RLY Network Association. We're the nonprofit that runs the core software. This way, any developer who wants to create their own app, they could use it as well.
So I'd love to hear about, Rally.io, if you don't mind,
Sure.
before we get into the weeds of it. Why is a tokenized creator economy a better way than what the Web2 way? I mean, I know part of it is disintermediation is a clear answer, but why don't you give us a little bit of background there? Why is that the future of work for creators?
Let's go back to the start of Web 2. And I was in Palo Alto when the Facebook.com was setting up their offices. I was there at the early offices in Soma at Twitter. I was there when Matt Mullenweg started WordPress. I was there when the first RSS feeds were starting to be integrated into feed readers. If you don't know what I'm talking about the early days of social media. And we had this wonderful promise where the people would be in charge. The people would be in charge of their data, their identity. They can govern, they can build where they want, and they had the ability to choose what would happen to the future of these platforms. And lastly, the financial upside could potentially be theirs. Did any of that happen, Ignacio?
No. I mean, I always have a theory. I always say this, everything started with a good ethos, right? Where did it all go so wrong? Why is the Web2 value flow, middlemen rent seeking, data monopolizing? Was it corrupt? Like, I love that we're talking about this and that you were there. What went, what
I was
went,
there.
that the one went in that different direction? Why are we at
Yeah.
Web3 looking for that alternative?
Well, it's interesting that the people who were the rebels, these were the ones with the ladders and the pitchforks and the axes coming to break down the castle of traditional media and print media and traditional advertising. They were at the castle to smash that institution, and they did. What they didn't realize is that they would end up going into the castle and becoming the king of that castle. So those who were trying to smash the one percenters ended up becoming the one percenters all over again. And that also, by the way, not only did that happen in social media, Web 2, that also happened in the sharing economy.
Well, that's what I wanted to touch on you first, because when you look at the future of work, right, it's meant to be distributed freelance work and everyone going to a project basis where they
Right.
learn skills and they apply, right? But if you think about it, from Upwork to LinkedIn, everyone's kind of a commoditized and they charge very high fees and
That's
rent
right.
as well to these people to exchange their time and skills for money, right? So what happened there?
All of that is true. Up to sometimes some of these marketplaces charge 20 to 30% fees on transactions, which seems outrageous on both sides of the market.
So then how would you use blockchain, just like the creator economy?
Yep.
How would you, what are some ideas that you would have for the future of work in the gig economy?
Sure. Well, let's go back to those 5 attributes that I was talking about. Your identity of your data and your identity, governance, the rights to build whatever you want, financial upside, right? And also thinking about, I think I missed one. Oh yeah, your data, identity and data. So thinking about these attributes, those should be with the people who are actually generating the value. And before the developers say, hey, we're creating the code for these platforms and marketplaces, yes, they should also receive these upsides as well, but also the people who are creating the content as well. So there's a duality. What we see is that it's become centered with just a small group of people, of which, of course, is the major issue. So we want to make sure that it is distributed, all of those 5 pieces, amongst those who are contributing value. And you're probably wondering, why should somebody who's creating an app do that? Well, it could inspire greater loyalty, higher engagement, more advocacy, and potentially less PR issues to deal with. So giving the control to those who are actually creating the content is going to give you longer term leverage.
You've just mentioned a lot of the values that we're applying here at Bondex as we build the
Cool.
next generation professional network. That is exactly the idea of our network. We see essentially a token economy that creates a meritocracy through both earning and staking mechanisms, decreasing the noise and making things more ethical than you have today. I think even in some of the Web2 platforms that are okay, like Twitter, where it's very crypto heavy, you still have a lot of noise and overwhelm. So that's where our staking mechanisms come, and also in terms of commitment when it comes to talent marketplace. Talent marketplaces are very inefficient, because of the middlemen that act as those platforms, between the talent and the opportunity.
I'm with you.
A different incentive model, right, can disintermediate that. And what we've done is we've created a tokenized gamified professional network in which people, for adding their data and monetizing it, receive part of that economic upside, and they get to choose whether they want to monetize their data or not. And then the more value that they add in forms of validating their credentials, their skills, advancing their career, creating content, all of those things that you've said, and putting all of their kind of work experience and professional information there, they receive the part of ownership in the network, and then that comes with a revenue share. And
That's right.
that, in fact, has created a lot really high engagement. So we launched the project. We're actually a year old now as a company, but we launched.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a fun road and adventure, but we're just getting started. And we launched the beta app that was just a gamified tokenized way of building your professional persona. And we're now at 857,000 users with no marketing spend. We have a very strong community. About 500,000 are monthly active users, and 200,000 are active users. And this is with a limited functionality beta app that we've created to kind of get out there. We decided to go community market fit first, and we wanted to do a paint to door test and see what the demand would be for a tokenized professional network. It turns out it's very high, and the network effects have been completely pervasive. Now it's about releasing the token economy and releasing the second side of the marketplace, in which what you were talking about. There's not a Web3 Upwork yet that works well, focused on Web3 talent.
Yeah, that's right.
We want to enable that for part-time and full-time work. That's what we would like. That's our mission here. But I mean, sorry, I just get carried away because I love your experience and some of these topics we really think carefully about, because I think the Web2 value flow lost their ethics a long time ago, and it's up to us in Web3 to build a new kind of professional network. And I think this new token incentives and this new token economy has the potential of creating a better model that's more profitable for everyone. both the investors, the users who are bringing the value to the network, as well as employers looking for talent, for everyone involved in this type of marketplace.
That's right. And if you have everybody on the same token in the economy, you can all grow it together as one ecosystem. For example, you could use the token to reward people to bring new talent to the supply of workers, right? You could also reward recruiters who, close the deal. You could also use the token to reward HR who actually is, purchasing or hiring the most amount of people. You could reward people for giving reviews and feedback on as folks. So every positive behavior that you want, you can use the token to grow that. And as more users come around, more tokens are issued. So we certainly see this as a way to do it. The one question that I want to make sure that we cover, though, is on governance, right? So enabling the community to make key choices along the way based upon some semblance of their token holdings. So that's the one thing I would love to talk about.
So actually, you're exactly right. You're kind of describing our business model, not our business model, but like our ecosystem token economy. Right? We're a three-sided marketplace with employers, people who act as recruiters or introducers who bring either they're referring candidates to opportunities or they're bringing more companies and getting a revenue share from that, as well as individual talent looking for freelancer and permanent employees. And all of them can earn tokens depending on the value that they're adding to the network, right? Now, in terms of voting and governance, the idea is that we will have a treasury mechanism and staking mechanism in which people will be able to participate in key decisions about where the network is going. The idea is to progressively decentralize. In the beginning, I would describe our setup on our ecosystem as a distributed model in which the operating company does play an important role in getting the company off the ground and developing the platform and all those good things. But then over time, as you have more data and more users and more kind of high value members of the community that are very engaged, more and more things can be then delegated to them and progressively decentralized, right? Through those governance.
Yeah, exactly. And that's very similar lineage of the project with rally.io where we started. And now we have the association, a nonprofit that I manage. So I totally understand that roadmap that you just laid out.
Fantastic. And some other questions that I have here we've prepared before I'd like to ask you is, for example, I mean, you're very familiar with the creator economy, but you're very familiar with the gig economy. I'd love to hear about, what are your thoughts on how blockchain will change the way employees work in general, or the future of work?
Yeah. Okay. So it depends if we're talking about Web3 talent or a broader market. So the broader market, most of those people are doxxed with their full names. But in Web3, we often see pseudonyms, not always, but often. And obviously, people have both in most cases. So if we see a new type of gig economy for Web3 workers, we might see that it's okay to hire people with pseudonyms, which would be pretty wild. But if you have network-based reputations, people around you that can vouch for your work or from your customers, then it doesn't matter. Then you just look at the quality of the work of an individual pseudonym. So that's one thing that I can imagine that we will start to normalize. The other one is, okay, so let's back up. So about 15 years ago.
I'd love to hear about this though, but okay, so you're talking about proof of work, which we're also exploring.
Yes, but also proof of reputation.
Proof of reputation and proof of knowledge and
proof of authority is another term that's related to that.
There's all these things. But I have a question for you, something that I asked myself. I've always been very public in my career, and in traditional LinkedIn. What do you think are the motivations for someone to remain anonymous while they do work on the internet?
They're not legally allowed to work in that country. They have an existing full-time role and they don't want anybody to know, which we know is happening now. They're trying to avoid taxes.
Okay. Yeah, these are some good, solid reasons.
Yeah, I'm not saying these are the things to do. Please follow the law in your jurisdiction. However,
this is not financial or professional advice.
No, it's not at all. And I certainly follow the law in my region. So the other model, even more advanced than this, is we may not see people even hire roles. We just may see people hire the solution. Let me just back up on that. So we may see, like, instead of job descriptions, we just see task descriptions where we need this task done and who wants to come do it, and they would bid for it and they would go do the work. So the individual may not even matter if we move to, because we're going this way with pseudonyms. And in those cases, we may see groups of people dynamically form like an agency and a virtual agency that instantaneously spins up, and then they accomplish those goals as a team and they disband. Many of them may not even know each other. Think of it as a flash mob of workers. Now, let me just give a metaphor on how this has happened before. 20 years ago in .com, by the way, I was a .comer. I've been through 4 internet cycles in my career. I was an intern coming out of college in .com. And at that time, where your server lived mattered. Like, where's your server? Who is hosting it? What is the IP address? And what's the physical location and address of your data center? I want to know before I buy from you. I want to know before we're partners. And so you would actually tell people in the .com era, we're hosted at this location at this address. That doesn't matter now because we use cloud services, Google, Microsoft, or Amazon. Where are the servers? Who knows? Who cares? Yes, you can put them by region for site performance or app performance, but that's beside the point because it's a cloud-based web services and hosting and storage. And I think that same metaphor is going to happen to the workplace where you don't care who the worker is, you don't care where they're from, and you don't care their name, and you don't need to know their home address. You just need to know that there's 99.99% uptime and fulfillment of the task that needs to be done. So I think we'll see a worker services or a task services like cloud services in this space that's powered by blockchain technology.
I completely agree with you. I do think, however, that it all depends on the degree and the type of work. Not
Yes.
everything can be commoditized to that level. I think you're describing very much a DAO structure. And we have some
Yeah.
clients who are DAOs, right? Who are going to be helping us launch our Web3 careers job portal. And it's very interesting, right? There's an operating company which they hire for full-time roles and people who are there kind of longer term. And then they have those mercenary tasks
Yep.
and people who are kind of float around DAOs, and they can do that beyond their 9 to 5 that they're contributing to a DAO community that they believe in, right? Which is something great about Web3.
Absolutely.
But in terms of, and so I completely agree with you that we will get there. But I think there's only so much complexity you can tackle with short-term mercenary type jobs, and that you will still always need people that stay organizations long term, have seniority, understand the culture, and drive the company in a more permanent long-term way, if that
And
makes sense.
institutional knowledge, setting the culture and the wisdom and long-term vision. And I agree that task oriented people are not the best fit for that part of the role. So I'm part of a collective. It's not a DAO called Club CPG Agency, and it's a group of very talented marketers. And we've assembled under the guise of an NFT community called CPG Community, which is pretty awesome and dope, run by Chris Cantino. And the agency is run by my friend Blake Menendez. And basically, we're assembling an agency to help big brands come onto the Web3 space. And there's a whole menu of services.
Web
And so we're
2.5.
starting. What's up?
Web 2.5, as they call it.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bridge, Web 2.5, to help Web 2 brands, traditional brands, big brands, the ones that are at the shopping malls, move into the Web 3 space. And so, yeah, it's great to see this
Adoption.
cloud service emerge.
That's very cool. So you're kind of tackling that from the marketing side in a way, essentially.
When I can, for sure. And then, we hire obviously I'm hiring full-time folks for my team, but I'm also open to hiring, we have freelancers as well. And some of them are paid in crypto, as you might imagine, given our background. So yes, we're open to it.
That's a great opener to the next topic of conversation.
All right.
When you are hiring for your company, which is a Web3 company, what are
Yes.
the types of skills and aptitudes that you look for in someone that you think will be successful in the roles that you hire for?
Depends on the role. So for a traditional marketing role, I'm looking for a B2B skill set, especially having reached developers. Our product Rally Protocol is for developers. So people who have background, reaching developers, whether it's apps, iOS, that it doesn't have to be, they do not have to be, Solana based developers or Solana based marketers. That's not what I need for that. They need to know how to do marketing correctly. But we're also hiring for a full-time role, developer relations. And this person should know how to code because they're going to literally be in the same physical rooms and hackathons with developers. So that person should be fully Web3 native. And so it depends on the role. But for freelancers, I just hired a a writer, and she's very talented, and she has written for CoinDesk. So that's obviously, proof of work, proof of authority. That, and I can see her articles are on the site. That's a huge testament to her background, right? And she came at the recommendation from one of our advisors who's Web3 native. So I think it just depends on what we're looking for.
So in that process, for example, how
Yes.
relevant was to you her resume and her previous, kind of track record versus her proof of work?
I'm sorry, what's a resume?
So exactly, that's what I was
Yeah.
getting.
When I was hired as CMO, I never had a resume to submit it. It was based upon my work and like
But
how
where
I
do you
interact.
keep that sample of work
Yes.
you can
So
show
it's
for?
authority. Yeah. It's definitely, I'm looking for history of work. And I also, so the resume is LinkedIn at this time. Obviously, we'd use Bondex if there was we were able to do that, of course.
We're coming soon.
Yeah, cool. And then, but in many cases, they were a referral. And we did, oh, yeah. And we also have a recruiter for the full time roles, and she knows exactly what to look for, Olivia. So it depends on like the situation. But we're definitely looking for multiple facets for proof of capability, history of work, network. What did they do in the past? How do they present themselves? But the static resume, that is like such a thing of the past because it's in many cases so self-fabricated. You can't even, I mean, I think that's the whole issue too with like resumes is like there's no network authority to prove whether or not you even graduated from that college. I guess I could call that university, but did you work at that company? I could call them. They won't even know anymore. So having the network proof is critical. And as you might imagine, like if on LinkedIn, I see we have a common connection, I am probably going to ask those people who I know, what do you think of this person? And if I get, and they see the message but don't respond, that is not a good sign. So I would probe even more. So yes, proof of authority and history is proof of capability.
But the way that these talent platforms from Upwork and the gig economy was to LinkedIn is not set up for that type of talent
No,
exchange
it's not.
and accreditation validation. It's still based on that. A LinkedIn profile is just as static as a PDF of a resume, in my opinion.
100%. The only areas, and yes, I think they can be improved, is there are people that are connected, mutually connected. That's like one signal, but I still have to delve in and see like how strong is that signal? Is that a great signal? And what do they think? So there's still a lot of work required. We definitely need a new form of a blockchain certification on somebody's work to see how well they worked and where do they succeed and excel.
Boy, do we have something that you're gonna like in our
I can imagine.
we just want to we want to re-envision the way a resume is done from static to dynamic, right? And the way that you do that is by making it, having validated interest from what people are getting educated on, certifications from testing the skills that you claim that you have, accreditations,
Exactly.
who then we talk to the organizations who can issue proof of knowledge or soul-bound tokens from the organization that proves that you've worked there or proves that you've gone to that type of school. And
Yeah.
then adding all of the communities that you add value to beyond your 9 to 5 that shows your passions and also what you care about, which I think is something that is missing in a resume today. So that could be the DAOs that you participate in and add value to. That could be that could be um, that could be also NFT communities that you're part of, gaming guilds. There's a lot of things that can be done.
Yep. Who do you know? And the social scene matters many times in the type of work that I'm doing. I want to know, are you connected to? Also, even POAPs, which events did you go to in our industry? I want to know that. I want to know if you're connected in the space. I also want to know, when did you when did you join a social network? Are you an early adopter, middle adopter, or late adopter? Like in my line of work, I want to know. Um, if you've claimed to create, if you are claiming to be a great marketer and you have a book or a podcast or a white paper about marketing, is it well read? If not, you're not marketing your own self well. That is a concern. So there's lots of other things that could be looked at as well.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think you're going to be excited about some of the things we're going to be releasing this summer.
Stop teasing. You keep on saying that, Ignacio.
It's true. It's just like, I've never met anyone that kind of is answering or giving us ideas about, some of the things that we've come up with that I'm very, very excited about. And if you think about it, it all stems from the fact that all the existing talent platforms in the Web 2 ones, they're all based on that extractive work model that Henry Ford came up with in like 1926, right? And if you're still based, everything is based around that 9 to 5 factory worker idea, it's just not going to be suitable. And one of the silver linings of COVID has been the acceleration of distributed and flexible working. And people are rebelling. I come from traditional finance, and I find it quite funny that investment bankers, for example, have gone on an uprise to kind of make more money and work less and have more balance, which is something that would have been unthinkable when I was starting out in the industry and you were kind of slaving away. And I think the talent platforms today need to adapt to this new reality, and they haven't. And
Yep.
that's why.
In addition, the reason why people work is changing too. So we also have to factor that in as well, right? So this modern generation, so Gen Y, I'm Gen X. So Gen Y, so Gen X, we work to live. I believe that's what is being said. But Gen Y is working for purpose, millennials, and Gen Z. Some of the data that I've seen shows that they are working for enjoyment or as well as purpose, which is very different than the boomers who are working or living to work, right? So we even have to change the way that jobs are attracted or the mission of the organization or the project too, where you're just not going to get good talent.
I agree. That makes sense. It's hard to kind of bring all the generations together to work in one way. And usually the hierarchies in most organizations, the way it works now, right, is you have the boomers at the top, the millennials are now in the middle management, and Gen Zs will be 30-year-olds in 4 years. So, they're the junior people coming onto the market. So them not being able to understand each other's incentives and motivations is not good.
That's
That's
I
why
love how you skipped Gen X, because that was the reason why we were termed Gen X, because people forgot about us. So they said, just call them X. See, that's exactly what happens.
My apologies.
No, we like it. We like to be hidden. It's actually part of the generation.
But what's amazing about Web3 is that because it's an industry that's new and they've gotten to start over, they're the most advanced in terms of their approach to work. And I've never seen consistently across all the Web3 verticals, NFT companies, gaming, metaverse, crypto.
Yeah, they work very differently.
Everyone. It's a flat hierarchy, right? It's more flat hierarchy, much more of a meritocracy.
Working all over the world. Like they're
Well,
always in
working all
different
over the world,
locations when they get
much
on a
more
Zoom.
flexible. And right now, because the funding and demand for talent is here and the supply here, it has never been a better time to get Web3 skills and become a Web3 professionals and working on the cutting edge. I don't care what the market conditions are. The health of the job market in Web3 is very strong. And this arbitrage of having the skill set, this happened when we went into mobile. There were no iOS or Android developers. Hence, their skill sets went up in value and they started charging more salaries. This is the
For
case.
how long though? How many years do you think there was that supply and demand?
We're looking at 3 to 5 years until the supply and demand sort of level a little bit more.
Yeah, that's tough for me because I'm hiring.
Yeah, you want results now, right? So the only
Yeah.
way that so at Bondex, our mission is not just to be the hub and the de facto professional network for Web3. Our idea is to become that, but we want to be as a bridge to bring more people and increase the supply, the total supply of talent. That can only be done through education, that different incentivization, and as well as other mechanisms that we have down the pipeline, like referral bounties and things like that. But that's our plan on how to basically not just become a hub for all the existing Web3 professionals like ourselves, but become a bridge for new generation. There's no more supply of talent. You need to make it. You need to make a new one. So when you're looking for those Web3 skills, sometimes
That's right.
you're having trouble finding it. A lot of the time, it's just a lack of supply. But if you find someone smart that is willing to learn, that has the traditional skills from that skill set that you want, that just needs to convert it to Web3, it's not that hard of a lift for them to adopt it. And it can be done in a short amount of time. I mean, NFTs are a year old. How many experts are there in NFT marketing? The pool is smaller and gradually gets bigger. But if you're looking for talent, you need to find ways to make it or find a platform that is able to generate more for you.
Well said.
Appreciate that. So one thing that we like to do at the end of our live streams here, and especially because you guys have your own token and there's background conditions, but this is obviously outlining that this is not financial advice from Bondex, from RLY, from Ignacio, for Jeremiah. This is not financial advice whatsoever, but I'd love to hear about what are your thoughts on the current market conditions and medium term. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen in the short term, medium term?
Yes. So first of all, let's back up and look at the global affairs. There's a war happening. There's supply chain woes. There's climate change. There is a existing quarantine in many countries, including China, the greatest manufacturer of the world. So let's just back up for a sec before we talk about like down to RLY and Bondex, right? So there's incredible churn that we haven't seen for multiple generations. This is quite traumatic and dramatic. So that's the first thing. And the traditional NASDAQ Dow markets reflect that, the extremely erratic market. Even the darlings of the pandemic, Netflix, Zoom, RingCentral, Peloton, have all fallen by the wayside in their stock performance. So that's just like 24 months ago. So yes, the crypto market has had a serious pullback. There's been a significant culling of NFT projects and tokens. I think this time last year, the market cap was, I think, 3 trillion in the crypto space at the tokens all in. Now it's 1.3. So like a 55% pullback, which is pretty significant. But for me as a marketer, that is great news because I have less competition now to get our message out, and I get to go on amazing live streams like this one. So I have less competition. And also the tourists have left. So the people that were just doing this for hobbying,
the tourists, I love
the
them.
tourists, they weren't gonna live here. They were just in an Airbnb or hotel. They're gonna leave anyways. But the people who are here to set up camp and they want to build a city, they're staying. And we know who they are. They're still here. They're going to be at Consensus with me tomorrow in Austin. They're going to be in NFT NYC with me in 2 weeks. We're physically going to be at these events together. Not that you have to be an event to be part of the community, just to be clear. But the tourists are gone. We know who is the true homesteader. So I see opportunity and growth. Now, with that said, looking forward, this isn't going to rebound quickly. I think this is going to take some time, but I think this is an opportunity for RLY Network and all of our partners who are building token economies to build their apps and for the long term. And one of the things that we offer is RLY rewards. So as your app is growing, we send you RLY tokens into your wallet, so you're generating cash flow. What a great feature during a down market. And you can use those tokens to reward your users or to pay your team or your staff. So we think we're primed for this market. We're ready to go.
Fantastic. I love your answer, and I feel exactly the same way. I think whether it's a bear market or crypto winter, is actually a great opportunity for those people who are committed, those projects who are funded, and those people who have a long-term mission and are going to, get to build without, cheaper, less distractions, and as you said, less competition. It's a great opportunity for those people that stick it out and are able to navigate it. Those people will enjoy the next cycle and will actually become very large companies. So I'm excited about this. I think it's a massive opportunity, and I'm happy to hear that you guys are very strong at RLY. And Jeremiah, this concludes our live stream. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you. I had a blast.
Same here. It's a blast to have with us. And thank you for all the Bondex and join. Have a fantastic week. And I encourage you to check out RLY Network, especially if you're a creator or you're building something great that could benefit from their infrastructure. Have a fantastic week, everyone.